Today we are reopening the Vancouver Canucks and the latest on the Elias Pettersson trade conversations. Because I wanted to respond to an idea that was talked about on Halford and Brough in the Morning from yesterday, Monday, April 27th. I'm going to leave a link in the description of this audio hit on Apple Podcasts, A Heartbreaker in Anaheim. It's the morning hour with Halford and Brough from 6 to 7 a.m. in the morning Pacific Standard Time, obviously from Monday, so yesterday's programming. But the reason we are bringing this audio hit into the fold is because of what is talked about in regards to potential trades. Ladies and gentlemen, is an Elias Pettersson trade to the LA Kings the most possible scenario here? The reason they bring this up is because when talking about the LA Kings, you have to really identify what it is they are and what they're trying to do before you project any potential moves. You see, the Kings, they're not really the youngest team out there. I mean, Quinton Byfield's a young dude, obviously, but you've got some older, aging guys on your blue line. You have Anze Kopitar, who had just played his last game. You got potentially a team that's deep on the wings. You got Kempe, you got Fiala when he's in, but of course he wasn't after the Olympics. And then you made a move for Artemi Panarin and re-signed him for 2 years. The LA Kings are in a spot where they are genuinely trying to be competitive. And with the moves that they have done, you can't really say that they're in a position to sell either, right? This ain't a team that can acquire Artemi Panarin, lose out on Anze Kopitar, and then just say, all right, well, yeah, screw it, we're gonna go rebuild now. No, you just committed all this money and roster management space to older dudes. You kind of have a duty to those guys to say, yeah, we put you onto this team with the idea of being competitive in mind, and there are so many of you, especially with Drew Doughty on the back end as well. He is on his retirement tour shortly after, that we just kind of have no choice. We got to go out there and contend. We got to try to be competitive, which is where the Anze Kopitar conversation comes in. Mike Halford brings up on the program that the LA Kings are probably going to be one of these teams that's in on the center market because of Anze Kopitar's departure, to which Brough replies on the program, hey, do you think the Kings can talk themselves into trading for Elias Pettersson? And Brough has a pretty funny way of looking at it, too. He's like, hey, LA's general manager is Ken Holland. What if Kenny Holland is like, oh yeah, Pettersson? That guy. I remember him from when I was in Edmonton. Pettersson's a young, great scorer, and he's going to be really good as he gets older, and he can potentially be the savior we need down the middle, which could inevitably lead to Ken Holland making a trade for Pettersson. Hey, it's not a bad idea, right? Kenny Holland not paying attention to the NHL and living in yesteryear, acquiring guys because of the talent they had had seasons ago, and not because of what they are today. That's his forte. Why not go out there and project Pettersson as the next LA Kings center? You've got an environment in LA, you know him, his wife, they'll probably love it down there. Petey is in a much quieter environment, which sounds contradictory, I know. Vancouver versus LA, obviously it's LA, but it's LA by volume, not LA by share. You can say that Elias Pettersson is one of the most, what's the right word? Let's just use a general word. He's one of the most famous people in Vancouver amongst Vancouverites who know anything about professional sports in this city. Pettersson goes to LA, he is like, what, 50th, 75th, 100th on the list of influential athletes in that city? Like, I'm sorry, but most of the guys on the LA Lakers and the Clippers are probably a lot more well-known than Elias Pettersson. In Vancouver, Pettersson's like top 5, if not top 3. Right? Not to mention Shohei and all the other Dodgers, right? Like, there is so many athletes and people in LA that are just so much more famous than your second-line center of your LA Kings hockey team could ever be. Even the first-line center, really. And I only say that with a caveat because Anze Kopitar, I mean, he was in LA for so long. I think that he would have worked up a lot of clout to get in there. But still, Elias Pettersson could be in a much calmer environment, not to mention the fact that Kenny Holland could have genuine reason to acquire him if there is some sort of an idea that he could be a bounce-back player. I mean, you think about it, the LA Kings, they're going to be freeing up a lot of cap space because Anze Kopitar, it's not like he was making the most, but $7 million definitely is not a little, you know? Either way, the folks on Halford and Bruff, they then talk about the idea of which other teams could potentially be in on Pettersson, which teams could talk themselves into trading for Elias Pettersson, and the other one that they brought up was Detroit. Steve Yzerman going in his press conference saying that they need better players, and the argument against Elias Pettersson is there. Bruff mentions on the program that Yzerman said he wants better players for his team. Well, I don't know if Elias Pettersson, especially nowadays, is necessarily better than any of the guys in Detroit. Now, I'd go so far to argue and say that he probably is better than Comfer, probably better than Kopp. Is he better than Larkin? No. I don't think we could say that, but Elias Pettersson, if you're acquiring this guy and you're taking on his full cap hit, you have to do it with the mindset that he is going to get better and he is going to bounce back. You can't be taking this guy back on as a maybe, especially if you're taking that full cap hit, which I guess is a little bit contradictory because I don't think the Vancouver Canucks would trade Pettersson away with any salary retained to begin with. So you're really only looking for teams that believe in what this guy could be in order for a trade to actually be possible. LA could do it because Ken Holland is Ken Holland. He loves giving a lot of money to guys that he knows were good 3 years ago. Steve Yzerman, I'm not too sure. Now, he's better than a lot of the guys they have in the bottom six, but do you want to be spending all your prospects and picks for a guy that will, at best, be a second-line center on your team? That is, assuming he doesn't bounce back as much as he could, and Dylan Larkin stays in that number one spot. I'd probably wager a bet and say if Elias Pettersson was 100-point caliber again, you'd have 31 NHL teams interested in acquiring him at full price. He was so good when he was good, man. Like, I just hate the fact that we can talk about Pettersson in this way where we are so acknowledging of how far he has fallen. It's like, do you remember when he was a rookie and he was shooting the puck all the time and he was scoring all the time? One-timers on the rush, do your deeks, doing the Peter Forsberg in the shootout and Mackenzie Blackwood and the Devils. Like, Elias Pettersson was a wizard, and he was the closest thing to Pavel Datsyuk we had seen in a long time, but now it seems like he has worked all that effort into just being the defensive guy and not really honing anything offensively. You can go into LA and you can have a really nice quiet life, Petey. Detroit, maybe same thing, who knows? Maybe not as much, but definitely a little quieter than Vancouver, I would say. But with all that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think a team like LA could not accidentally, convince themselves to make a trade for Elias Pettersson? Do you think the Detroit Red Wings could also find themselves in similar territory? Do you think it's possible Stevie Y actually goes out there and pulls the trigger on a big trade for this dude, rather than a Robert Thomas or a Trocheck or whomever else? You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. The podcast audio will be linked in the description if you want to listen to Halford and Bruff in the morning from yesterday. They talk all about Elias Pettersson, the Kings, the Wings, and more. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.